People across America are posting their rent online, and the numbers are leaving millions wondering how anyone is supposed to keep up.
Why are apartments $1,800 a month? A one-bedroom apartment is almost $2,000 a month. My mom owned a condo for years. I remember growing up, she used to rent out her condo. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom on a lake. Boat access for $1,100 a month. $1,100 a month. That's dirt. That's pocket change in this economy. Like, I can't, no wonder. People aren't having kids. Like, people aren't getting married. It's like the most single generation ever because we can't afford anything. We can't afford to even, like, be in a relationship because we're still living at home with our parents because we can't afford to live on our own. And if we do, we're not saving, we're going in debt, we don't have any extra money for anything. It's like you spend all your money towards your living expenses and then you don't have any money to do anything. Like, what is happening?
We just got everything out from the apartment. I can't believe I'm actually moving back with my parents at the age of 34. Sometimes you have to take a step backwards just to move forward, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm definitely going to miss having my own space for sure. Nothing beats, that's the best feeling in the world, just having your own space. But only thing I can do from here is just move forward and just try to improve and better myself. I am very grateful to have my family to fall back on during times like these. So I'm very grateful for that. And we'll see where the next journey takes us.
This is how much I pay in rent for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in Southern California. We just moved into this place. It's pretty nice. It's like 1,150 square feet. It's pretty big. I'm like an hour outside of LA. So we were living in Chino Hills before. We moved out of there, upgraded to the 2-bedroom because we have a baby. So for this place, I'm paying $29.30 a month. I've got utilities, I've got like internet fees and stuff. So all in all, basically $2,900 just rent. Everything together, I'm probably at like $3,400 after like electricity, trash, water, sewer, all of it. But it is not cheap to live here in Southern California.
Across the country, renters are sharing lease renewals with massive price hikes, apartments that cost far more than they did just a few years ago, and monthly payments that now consume most of their income.
Can someone explain to me why renting is so hard in Orange County? I have 4 adults, my brother, his fiance, and me and my fiance, and we're all just trying to look at a house to rent together. We're looking at $5,000 a month. Our credit score is amazing. Mine is 780. My brother's is 820. Like, that's phenomenal. And we're getting denied at every place that we apply because they're saying that there's just stronger applications. I don't know what to do. I don't know why it's so hard. Don't want to live in like the Irvine company because we want like a garage and we want a backyard. And we've been applying for 2 months. Like, it's not like we're dragging our feet. We all work corporate jobs. Like, I'm trying to point out like any kind of yellow flag that I see. I have a dog. But that shouldn't stop me from like finding a place to live. I feel the crash out. Like, I'm going to crash out.
Now, what I'm about to say may piss a lot of landlords off, but I don't really care at all. But I'm gonna read to y'all the qualifications that this person wants for this house. And it ain't an amazing ass house. We're not talking about anything super expensive. The rent, like I said, is $16.95, $40 application fee per adult. They want you to make 3.5 times the rent. Standard, for whatever reason, is 3 times the rent. When majority of Americans don't even make 3 times a $1,600 a month rent. I don't know where people just get up and be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna make this a national standard that people have to make 3 times the rent amount. Majority of people can afford 2 times the rent on a specific basic home like this. But this person is going even further. They don't want you to have 3 times the rent. They want you to have 3.5 times the rent. They want the last 2 years of your W-2s, the last 3 months of your check stub, driver's license or ID, social security card. They want you to make 2 months worth of rent as your security deposit before you even move in, and you have to have a credit score of at least a 670. I'm trying to tell you off the bat, that disqualifies so many people from being able to be in a home that is decent. Let's add that up, why don't we? Off the rip, you have to pay first month's rent, $16.95. You have to pay $40 application fee per adult, and let's just say the standard adult is 2 adults, right? You have to pay, if you have a pet, which majority of people in Houston do have pets, dogs, it's a $250 non-refundable fee per pet. So let's just say you have a pet. We're going to add that up. And then you have to make 2 months of the rent to equal the amount of the security deposit. So that's $16.95 times 2. All right. And on top of that, we're not even talking about your utilities and all the things that you have set up. They want you to have rental insurance before you move in. Standard rental insurance is probably about $25 a month. Let's just say that. Before you can even move into this house, sitting in a savings account somewhere or just idle money, you already got to come off of this amount of money.
For many, moving isn't even a solution because prices are rising almost everywhere. But it's not just the rent itself. Before someone can even move in, many landlords require high credit scores, proof of income several times the monthly rent, security deposits worth multiple months, application fees, and stacks of paperwork.
I moved back in with my parents at the age of 32, and I've been here for the last 2 years. And I just want to be real about what that felt like because it's not easy. I'd been a business owner, I had employees, I had a whole identity built around being the woman who was building something. And then one day, I'm back in my parents' house trying to figure out how to rebuild my life without losing my mind in the process. And the ego hit from that was very real. But here's what I decided. I could do one of 2 things, and I could scramble to keep up appearances, go get an apartment, act like everything was fine. I could keep spending money that I didn't have just to feel like I was still that girl, or I could be real with myself and make the smart move, even if it was the humble one. And I chose real.
Whenever I post that I live with my mom, I always get hate comments from people being like, you're 32 and you live with your mom? Yeah. And it's the best decision I've ever made. Like, what, you want me to spend $3,000 to go live with a random roommate that I'm worried is going to eat my groceries and not wash her dishes? I think I've cracked the code. Living with your mom's the best.
I need to have a vent session for a second about the state of affairs in this country. So I have 2 adult children. One is 18 going on 19 and the other one is 21. My 18-year-old is working currently as an HVAC apprentice and working on getting certified, but he's making $16 an hour, which I live in a small to mid-sized Missouri town, so that's pretty typical around here. Wages are, low compared to a lot of places, but so is the cost of living. But he would also not like to be living at home with mom forever. He's more of like an independent, autonomous person. So apartment living is not for him at all. He wants a place where he can have his truck and his dirt bikes and be able to work on motors and have the freedom to do what he wants with the place and also be able to have all of his stuff. And at this point, honestly, renting a house would cost more than a mortgage payment anyway. But he's been looking for houses and just trying to figure out what he can afford and what he can do. And he found this place that was only $125,000, which is dirt cheap around here. That just doesn't exist anymore, but it had no basement. It was on a slab foundation, I think, and probably needed some work, which he is naturally talented at that stuff. He works in HVAC. He's very mechanically inclined. He can do this stuff. So he's not afraid of a fixer-upper. Found out that the main reason it was priced so cheap is because it was in a flood zone. So it was a no anyway. But keep in mind, $125,000 house in this economy. And when we looked up to see if he did a 5% down payment on this thing with, your insurance and PMI and taxes and everything, his payment would still be $1,100 a month. for a like cheap piece of crap house. And just the look of absolute dread on his face when he realized how completely unaffordable and unattainable it is for him to be able to buy a house and live on his own. Now, my oldest son just turned 21. He's been waiting to turn 21 because he wants to get into the cannabis industry. And it's just like the alcohol industry, where if you want to be like a brewer or a bartender, you have to be 21 in order to do it. So this past week, Thursday, he interviewed for a job with a grower. And just a couple of days ago, he was offered the position and officially accepted it. And in that time, less than a week, we decided to start a war with Iran. And so when he interviewed for the job, gas prices were around $2.50 a gallon where I'm at, and now they are already at $3 a gallon and climbing. So just in the time between when he interviewed for this job and when he accepted this job, gas prices have gone up 50 cents a gallon, and they're not done climbing yet. And this is an issue because this job, there's a lot of dispensaries here in town where if he had, ended up there, he'd probably be a little bit better off. But this was the job opening that was available at the time for him to get into the industry. And it is a farm, which is 30 miles up the interstate from where we live. So now he is going to be driving one way to work 30 miles at a time when gas prices are going through the roof, because we decided it was a good idea to start a completely unwarranted, unjustified, and unnecessary war with Iran. And I'm now sitting here thinking about my own situation, where my own currently hourly wage is, and considering if I was their age, if I was just starting out. So thinking about buying the same house that I live in right now at its current value, at current interest rates, with the same % down payment that I paid for this house back in 2017. And I realized that my payment would be double what it currently is. And I, as a 40-year-old woman who has been working for 24 years of my life, could not afford this place on my own. Like at 40 years old, I would need a roommate in order to live in this very modest, like 1,300 square foot, 1968 ranch style home. Like it's not a fancy house by any stretch. It's what most people would consider to be essentially a starter home by today's standards. And I could not afford it on my own on my current wages. So my question is, how the hell are we expecting these young kids to do it? Like for someone to start out, even in my area, in like rural Missouri, they would have to make $30 an hour in order to be earning a living wage, in order to live on their own and support themselves without the help of a spouse or a roommate, just for a single person to live and make it on their own, to be able to afford a vehicle payment, vehicle insurance, a mortgage or rent payment, and all of the utilities and groceries and cell phone bills and stuff that go along with just living your life. That's no fun stuff. It's just to live. They would need to make $30 an hour.
Even people with stable jobs are finding it harder to qualify for housing. As a result, more adults are making difficult decisions. Some are moving back in with their parents. Others are sharing homes with roommates or family members. And many are putting off major life milestones simply because housing has become too expensive.
Rent in Dallas is getting out of hand. I've never seen anything like this. I live in Uptown, and I've only lived in my apartment for less than a year now, but my 60-day period is coming up where I need to give notice or resign. So they sent me the renewal letter, and they want to raise my rent from $1,800 a month to $2,200 a month, which is over 20% of an increase. And I feel like that's insane. Of the 5 or 6 apartments I've lived at in Dallas before, they've really never raised it more than like $100 usually. And the most I think was $200, and I got them to meet me in the middle for about $100 of an increase, which is way less on a percentage basis. And this time they want 20% more, really more than 20%. So I emailed them and I was like, hey, this is out of control. Like, is there anything you can do to work with me? I offered like a more reasonable 5% increase, which is normal, like inflation. And they were like, no, sorry, we're not willing to budge. You can try to email us again right before the 60 days, which is next week, and we'll see if market rates have come down. But if not, that's the renewal price. And I'm like, number one, I've always been able to negotiate, and number two, it's just an astronomical increase.
Hi, my name's Scott Rogers. I recently got evicted from the place I'd been living for over a decade. I'm working a job that's roughly minimum wage for about 40 hours a week. For the duration I've been staying in this extended stay hotel, I don't know how much longer that'll be possible. Car is having a lot of transmission issues, a lot of internal issues. I'm not even sure I can afford to take it to a mechanic. It's broke down a couple of times over the last week. Thank God it restarted. I'm making decisions between buying food and finding alternative, when the car breaks down, finding alternative ways to work. Every time I don't know how long I'll be able to keep this up.
The biggest frustration is that while the cost of living continues to rise, many people feel their paychecks haven't kept pace. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, and other everyday expenses are stretching household budgets further than ever before.
I got my lease renewal today sent to my email, and the numbers that were presented to me made my jaw fall to the ground. And not many things make my jaw fall to the ground quite like this. I live in Channelside, I live in Tampa, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. So if I want to sign another 12-month long lease, which is the lease term I'm currently on, they are going to raise my rent over $1,000. Now, this is where I want to make sure everyone's sitting down for this number. If I want to go month to month, the rent will be $11,438.
Where I live, the average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment is about $1,700. If you were to make enough money to where that $1,700 apartment was 25% of your pay so that you were not house poor, I think the math came out to be that you needed to make like $6,800 a month. And if you follow Dave Ramsey, he says 25% of your take-home pay. So we're not even get that nitty-gritty about it. But $6,800 a month works out to be $42 an hour. So for a single person to afford to live in a 1-bedroom apartment where I live, and no, it is not in the city of Seattle, you would need to be making $42 an hour to be able to afford that rent comfortably. I don't understand why this is such a hard concept for people to understand, that wages are not livable. Because I'm thinking about how my kids are going to be able to move out in 20 years. How are they going to be able to afford an apartment? If as of right now, a single person would need to make $42 an hour to afford to live solo, minimum wage is $17 an hour. Like, this just isn't working. Maybe it's just Washington, but there isn't anything about our lifestyle that we can cut out to make this any cheaper. I can't move further to the country because they're just as expensive. I'm driving a 16-year-old car. Our mortgage has a 2.9 interest rate from 2021. We don't have PMI. It's a fixer-upper. This lifestyle should not be hard to afford, and I know I'm not the only one. So if you made it this far, I would love to hear what your ideas are and suggestions for us to fix this.
These viral videos aren't just about expensive apartments. They're showing a growing affordability crisis that people across America say they're experiencing every single month.
Homeless, that is on the topic for
That is on the topic.
young adults. That is on the topic. We are almost there. We have a week to make $600.
So let me get this straight. We can't afford rent because rent prices are increasing so much to push us out to buy homes. But the interest rate is so high, you can't buy a home. And also you're not going to get funded for a home because of your debt to income ratio. So then what? And then homelessness or houselessness is becoming criminalized. So then what? I don't understand. To be honest, I really like the idea of building a commune, aside from like the culty aspect of it, but essentially buying land, driving vans, building a tiny houses on it, and everyone shares.
For many renters today, the challenge isn't finding a place to live. It's finding one they can actually afford.